My name is Harold, and I'm 94 years old.
Never get a girlfriend after 60. That's what I tell men when they ask me about dating at my age, and I can see the surprise on their faces before I even explain why. My name is Harold, and I'm 94 years old. I've buried a wife, outlived most of my friends, and made one late life mistake that taught me more about love than the first 70 years ever did. I was married to my wife, Eleanor, for 52 years. We met when I was 21 and too poor to take her anywhere nicer than the corner diner. She liked that I listened more than I talked. I liked that she never tried to change who I was. We built a life slowly, brick by brick. 3 children, a small house we paid off in our late 50s, arguments about money, laughter around the kitchen table, and long quiet nights when just sitting beside each other felt like enough. When she died, I was 83. Cancer, quick and cruel. One year she was tending her roses. The next I was standing in a black suit shaking hands I barely felt. People told me I was strong. I wasn't strong. I was stunned. There is a difference. For the first time since I was a young man, I slept alone in a bed that felt far too large. Loneliness at that age is not dramatic. It doesn't shout. It settles in like dust. The house grew quieter, and I started talking to the television just to hear a voice answer back. My children called, they visited, but they had their own lives. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be the old man who needs constant checking on. So when a friend at church suggested I put myself out there, I laughed at first. At 85, the idea felt foolish. But the nights were long, and I missed the feeling of someone reaching for my hand without thinking. I told myself I wasn't looking for love. I was just looking for company. That's how I met Diane. She was 72, recently divorced, lively in a way that made me feel younger just standing next to her. She liked to travel, to try new restaurants, to talk about books I had never read. When she laughed, it was loud and bright, and for a while it cut through the silence that had been sitting in my house for 2 years. At first, it felt like a second chance. We went to the coast one weekend, and I remember thinking, maybe life isn't finished with me yet. Maybe there's still something ahead. I bought new shirts. I started caring about how I looked again. My children were polite about her, though I could see confusion in their eyes. To them, their mother had not been gone that long. The truth I didn't want to face was that I wasn't in love with Diane. I was in love with not being alone. There's a difference, and at 60 or 70 you might not see it clearly. At 85 you should. But loneliness can make a man dishonest with himself. Diane wanted more than companionship. She wanted partnership. She talked about moving in together, about selling her place, and combining our savings to travel properly. She wanted a future. I nodded along because I liked how it sounded. The problem was, my future was not the same length as hers. When you're in your 20s, you promise forever and believe you can deliver it. When you're in your 80s, forever is a fragile word. I had heart problems. I got winded walking upstairs. I knew, even if I didn't say it out loud, that I didn't have decades to give her, but I was selfish. I let the relationship grow anyway. I liked having someone sit across from me at dinner. I liked having someone call me in the morning just to ask how I slept. I told myself she understood what she was signing up for. She didn't. Or maybe she did, but she hoped reality would be kinder. 2 years into our relationship, my health began to slip. Hospital visits became more frequent. I saw the worry in her eyes shift into something heavier, something like fear. Not fear of losing me, though that was there, but fear of building her life around someone who was already halfway out the door. One evening she asked me a simple question. "Harold, what are we doing?" I had no answer that didn't hurt her. I realized then that I had asked her to attach her heart to a man whose body was already failing, not because I believed in building something lasting, but because I was afraid to sit in an empty house. When you start a relationship after 60, especially after 70 or 80, you're not just offering your love. You're offering your decline. You're asking someone to walk with you not toward a long horizon, but toward a narrowing one. There is nothing wrong with companionship. There is nothing wrong with wanting warmth, but you have to be honest about what you're truly capable of giving. Diane and I ended things gently. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just a quiet conversation at my kitchen table. She cried. I didn't. Not then. I waited until she drove away and the house went silent again. This time, the silence felt deserved. In the years since, I've thought about that period often, not with shame, but with clarity. I don't regret caring for her. I regret not being honest sooner about why I was there. Men ask me now, at the senior center or after church, whether they should get a girlfriend after 60. I tell them the hard truth. If you're looking for someone to erase your loneliness, don't do it. If you're unwilling to face your own aging without leaning on someone else's future, don't do it. If you cannot offer stability, time, and a clear understanding of what lies ahead, then step back. Because at this age, love is not about starting over. It's about finishing well. I learned that what I truly needed was not another woman in my life, but a different relationship with myself. I had to learn how to sit in that quiet house and not feel abandoned by it. I had to reconnect with my children not as a man seeking distraction, but as a father and grandfather who understood his role had changed. Loneliness did not disappear, but it softened when I stopped fighting it. I began volunteering at the library. I started writing letters to my grandchildren. I let the memories of Eleanor sit beside me without trying to replace them. If you're 60 or 70 or even older, and you're thinking a new romance will fix the ache, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Are you offering love, or are you seeking rescue? At 94, I can tell you this. Companionship is beautiful when it grows from wholeness. It becomes heavy when it grows from fear. I don't say never get a girlfriend after 60 because love has an expiration date. I say it because, at this stage of life, you must understand the weight of what you're asking another person to carry. I am not against love. I am against using it as a shield from the truth. And the truth is simple. Aging is something you must make peace with on your own. If you can do that, if you can sit with yourself without panic, then whatever relationship you build will be honest and kind. But if you cannot, you may end up, like I did, hurting someone who only wanted to share your days, while you were secretly trying to escape your nights. That is the hard truth I learned too late, and I hope you learn it sooner.